and we have Yud Chet Gimel. We may not assist an animal in delivering its young on Yom Tov, but we may support it. We may assist a woman in childbirth on Shabbos, we may call a midwife from place to place for her. We may desecrate Shabbos on her behalf, and we may tie the umbilical cord. Rabbi Yossi says we even may cut it. And all requirements of circumcision may be performed on Shabbos. Rabbi Eliezer says if one not bring an instrument for circumcision before Shabbos, he should bring it on Shabbos exposed, and in times of danger, he should cover it in the presence of witnesses. Furthermore, said Rabbi Eliezer, we may fell trees in order to make charcoal and to form an iron instrument. But Rabbi Kiva stated a rule. Any work that can be done before Shabbos does not override the Sabbath, but any work that cannot be done before Shabbos does override Shabbos. We may perform all the necessities of circumcision on the Sabbath, and we may circumcise, uncover the corona, draw blood, and place a bandage and cumin upon it. If he did not crush the cumin before Shabbos, he may chew it with his teeth and apply it. If he did not vigorously mix wine and oil before Shabbos, each one should be added to the bowl by itself. We may not fashion a shirt-like bandage for it, but one may wrap a piece of cloth around it. If he did not prepare before Shabbos, he may wrap it around his finger and bring it even from another courtyard. Okay.
Okay. Marchitzin es a katan, bein lifnei hamila, bein la'achar hamila. So you're allowed to use warm water specifically. You're not just like washing with cold water, you can do anyway. But washing with warm water is allowed. You're allowed to do both before the milah and after the milah. Umzalfin alav bayar. And you're allowed to sprinkle on it. Let me just see. Bayar is the that this is talking about the beginning. How do you wash the cotton? So bayad. I read that wrong. Bayad. So you sprinkle the water on the baby with by hand, but not with a kli. Okay. Why not with a kli? Because it's you want to do it with a little bit of a shinoi, because in general you're not allowed to use warm water on Shabbos to wash yourself, except your hands, face, and feet. You're allowed to do with pre-warmed water. Yeah, you're washing the whole body, so therefore it's got to be it's got to be done by hand. Okay.
It's interesting what you said about pre-form of hot water, because there's no way to do that here, and anywhere. Water when you turn on the faucet.
They had kalim where you would have like some coals in one compartment and the water above it. There was
back then, you mean?
They had such.
Yeah.
We discussed those earlier in our in Masechah Shabbos. We discussed.
But now you can't do that. You turn on the water and cold water comes in, gets heated up.
Right, so you're not allowed to put cold water into that, but if you heat it up with Shabbos, you're allowed to use that. So obviously they had ways of keeping water warm until Shabbos day. So of course Milah has to be done by day. Okay. Okay, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer, Marachitzin is a katan b'yom shlishi shechal lios b'Shabbos. It says you can wash the baby on the third day, and by that we mean even on the third day. So for sure on the first 2 days.
Right.
So if the bris milah was on Thursday or Friday, you can still wash the baby on Shabbos. So this is from the parsha of Shechem, where Shimon and Levi went and attacked the whole after they've had their bris milah, and on the third day when they were in pain. So it's not like a proof, but what it is saying is that on the third day when they realized that Shechem wasn't faking it, and but they were still suffering from the bris milah. I don't think the pain gets to be the worst on the third day, Dafka, but it's still a painful day.
No.
Yeah. Safek but androgynous. So what happens if you have a child who is a safek, if they're chayav to have their bris milah on that day, and that means that they were born bein hashmashas.
Right. Okay.
So bein hashmashas on the previous Friday evening, or on the previous Shabbos evening. Either way, it's a safek if they should be brised on that Shabbos. and therefore you cannot bris them on the Shabbos. And also an androgynous, if somebody is showing up both sets of genitals, basically. Ein mechalelin alav is a Shabbos. Cannot do. You can only do bris milah for a child who is actually who is vadai born on Shabbos and and is definitely a male. The Rabbi Yehuda matir androgynous. So Rabbi Yehuda says, look, if he's got the male characteristics, that's male enough for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Mi shehayulo shnei tinokos. So there were there were two babies. Let's say that we've got twins who were
Mhm.
born half an hour apart, and one was supposed to be breast. Let's say one was born on Shabbos Vada during the day, and one was born on Saturday night. Okay, so the one has to be breast the following Shabbos, and the other one has to be breast the following Sunday. Okay, and now what happened? There was a mix-up. The Moel came and did a bris milah on the one who was supposed to be bris on Sunday, and he did the bris on Shabbos. So says the Mishnah, Chayav. Yeah, this Mohel is chayav to bring a chatas because he did an act that was not even a milah. It was not a valid milah because it was done on the seventh day, and now he violated Shabbos for it. So now he has to bring a korban chatas, and they're going to have to do hatafas dam again. Just by the way, for this baby
Right.
on the eighth day because he didn't have a bris milah. Echad lamul be'erev Shabbos ve'echad lamul b'Shabbos. What happens if it's the reverse direction, where one baby has to be brised on Friday, and the other one has to be brised on Shabbos? And shachach umal isel erev Shabbos b'Shabbos, and he took the Friday baby and brised him on Shabbos. Okay, now you weren't allowed to do that because that's now a ninth day bris.
Right.
Ninth day bris doesn't override Shabbos, but Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatas. So Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, you violated Shabbos for no good reason. Rabbi Yeshua Potter, he says, well, you weren't allowed to do it lechatchila, but we're still going to say it's pater because it is a bris milah tachlis. It's even a ninth day bris is a valid bris, and you
Mhm.
weren't supposed to do it on Shabbos, but he's not chayav chatas for that. And interestingly, that is the halacha, like Rabbi Yeshua, that is pater from the chatas because he did a valid bris milah, and be'etzim bris milah overrides the Shabbos.
Oh,
Okay, now
uh,
here's some interesting math.
test, test, Bob.
Hold on, I'm
Look,
not done yet. I'm not done yet.
one more?
got
I'm
hay as
sorry.
well, yeah. Katan nimul lishmona lishtisha la'asar lachadasar or lishnemasar. So it is possible for a child to be breast lechatchila. I mean, you can have a child being breast like months later if he's sick, chas v'shalom. But for
Mhm.
a normal healthy child, his lechatchila bris milah could be anywhere between the 8th and the 12th day. Okay? How so? Lo pachas v'lo yoser. Okay, so those are your only options. How so? Okay, so kedarko lishmona. So your general happy case is that the child is breast on the 8th day. What happens nolad lebein hashmashos? If a child is born bein hashmashos nimol letisha, then even if it's like 1 minute after shkia, say okay, this is now safek. We cannot bris him. Let's say he's born on Monday on Monday evening, just after sunset on Monday. So the following Monday, you can't bris him because maybe that's a seventh day bris. So you'd rather take the chance of missing the eighth day bris and bris him on the ninth day, just to make sure that it's a valid bris milah. Okay, so that's on the ninth day. Bein hashmashos shel erev Shabbos. What happens if that day is Shabbos? If it's Friday and he's born bein hashmashos on Friday, well, you can't bris him on Friday because that could be the seventh day, and you can't bris him on Shabbos because that could be the ninth day. Okay, so therefore you have to wait until Sunday. Nimol Lasara. So then he's born. Then he is brised on what is effectively the 10th day. Yom Tov le'achar Shabbos. What happens if you've got Yom Tov following Shabbos? So let's say so the child is born on erev Shabbos, which is also and Shabbos is erev Shavuos. So
Mhm.
again, you can't bris him on the Friday because it might be the seventh day. You can't bris him on Shabbos because it might be the ninth day. You definitely can't bris him on Yom Tov because that's definitely not the eighth day. So therefore, you wind up waiting for the 11th day. Okay, Nimola Chadasar. Shnei Yamim Tovim Shel Rosh Hashanah. Okay. And what happens when you have Thursday, Friday, Rosh Hashanah, and then you've got Shabbos, and he's born on Bein Hashmashos on he's born Bein Hashmashos on the previous Wednesday evening. So
Uh,
again, you can't bris him on the Wednesday because it might be the seventh day. You can't bris him on the Thursday, which is Rosh Hashanah, because that could be the ninth day, and that doesn't override Yom Tov. And then it winds up again being pushed out all the way until Sunday, which is the 12th day. Katan chole, what happens if a child is sick? Ein mo'alin oso ad yavri. Then you do not bris him until the doctor has said he is okay to be brised. And from that moment, you wait a week and then you bris him.
okay.
Okay.
Tesvav, Aleph. These are the knots for which we are liable. The camel driver is not, the sailor is not. And just as one is liable for tying them, so too one is liable for untying them. Meir says, any knot which one can untie with one hand, we are not liable for. There are knots for which we are not liable, as we are for the camel. The camel driver's knot and the sailor's knot. A woman may tie the opening of a chemise, strings of a hair net or a girdle, and straps of a shoe or a sandal, and canteens of wine or oil, or a pot of meat. Rabbi Elia ben Yaakov says we tie a rope in front of an animal in order that it's going to go out. We may tie a pair with a belt, but not with a rope. But Rabbi Yehuda permits it. Rabbi Yehuda stated a general rule: any knot which is not permanent, we are not liable for. We may fold garments even 4 or 5 times. We may make the beds on the night of the Sabbath for the Sabbath, but not on the Sabbath for the day after the Sabbath. Rabbi Yishmael says we may fold garments and make beds on Yom Kippur for the Sabbath, and fats on the Sabbath sacrifices may be offered on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Akiva says neither those of the Sabbath may be offered on Yom Kippur, nor may those of Yom Kippur be offered on Shabbos. Okay. Wait, I missed something over here. Okay. Here we are. 10th is Aleph. All books of Holy Scripture may be saved from the fire, whether we read.
Wait. We're now into Bikurim, yeah?
Oh, okay. All right. So I went too far. Okay. All right. Why do I have this? Oh, I have to put this in the right place, y'all. I won't remember to do it. Um, oh, come on. What did I just finish? I just finished test 12.
You just finished
Right.
That's
Right. Right. Okay. All right.
yeah.
So it. Right. Okay. Right. I got it. Okay. Put it over here. I'll find it after. All right. B'chorim. Finish B'chorim today, and Dal of Gimel. How is he like a woman? He conveys uncleanness with the red like women, and like women he may not be alone with men, and like women he does not oppose the Yibam obligation, and like women he does not share with the sons, and the women he does not eat of the holy things in the temple, and his mother observed the unclean blood for days like females, and like women he is ineligible to give testimony, and like women he was objected to illicit intercourse, he's disqualified from eating truma. Um, how is he like both men and women? One incurs guilt for smiting him and cursing him as either with men or women. And he who slays him unwittingly must go into exile. And if he intentionally he is executed, as are men and women, and his mother brings an account of him a sacrifice, as for men and for women, and he eats holy things in the provinces as men and women, and he inherits all the heritances as do men and women. How is he like neither man or woman? Tamora is not burnt because of the uncleanness of his flocks, nor is he liable on account of entering the temple. Neither like men nor like women, and unlike men or women, he is not sold as a Hebrew servant, and he is not valued either as a man or woman. And if a man says, may I be a Nazarite in this one, be neither man or woman, he is a Nazarite. Rabbi Yossi says that a hermaphrodite is a creature of its own, and the sages could not decide if he was a man or a woman, but not so. I plead Tumtum, who is sometimes man and sometimes woman. Okay, Hadran
Seder Zerayim. Okay, and Shabbos tomorrow.
Please start
2 ways.
Truma. Here we go. Okay,
Okay, Shabbos.
Truma. Dalid Yud Gimel. Yossi said a case came once before Rabbi Akiva concerning 50 bundles of vegetables, into which a kindred one had fallen, half of which was Truma, and I said in his presence, it is annulled, not because Truma is annulled in 51, but because there were 102 halves. If a If a saw of unclean truma fell into less than 100 of chulin, or into Maisa Rishon, or into Maisa Sheni, or into a hallowed produce, whether unclean or clean, they must be left to rot. If that saw was clean, it must be sold to priests at the price of truma, excluding the value of that saw. If it fell with Maisa Rishon, he must designate a truma Maisa. And if he fell into Maisa Sheni or hallowed produce, it must be redeemed. If that chulin was unclean, it may be eaten in small cakes or roasted or kneaded with fruit juice or divided among pieces of dough, so that in no single place should be an egg's bulk. If a sar of unclean truma fell into 100 and of clean chulin, Reb Eliezer says truma must be taken and burnt. Where I say the saw which fell into it is the saw which came up. But the comments say it is nullified and should be eaten in small cakes or roasted or kneaded with fruit juice or divided among pieces of dough, so that in no single place should there be an egg's bulk. Okay. Well, okay, Taharos. Okay, test olive. From when are olives susceptible to contracting tumor? From when they are exclude the moisture of the holder, but not the moisture of the porous box. This is according to the words of Beit Shammai. The Shimon says a measure at which moisture renders the olive susceptible is 3 days. Beit Hillel says when 3 olives stick to one another. Now Gamil says when their processing is finished, and the sages take their position as it is said. If he finished harvesting his olive but intends to purchase more, if he finished purchasing and intends to borrow more, or if there befell him a mourning or a banquet or a compelling situation, that even if Zavs and Zabas walk upon them, they're tahor. If tummy vegetables fell upon them, only the place in which they came into contact with the olives is tummy, and the moisture that seeps from them is tahor. When the processing is finished, they are susceptible to tumor. If vegetables fell upon them, they are tummy. The moisture that seeps from them. Reb Eliezer regards as tahor, while the sages regarded tummy. Reb Shimon said they do not argue concerning the moisture that seeps from the olives, which is tahor, but concerning what did they argue? Concerning the moisture that comes from the pit. That Reb Eliezer regards as tahor, while the common regard as tummy. Okay. One finishes olives and left over
Yeah, no, we're done. We're
one.
done. Let's move on to,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. All right.
to Menachos.
Yud Aleph Aleph.
Hold, just
The
hold
shtei
it. Hold it. Wait, just give.
the shtei lechem are needed. The shtei lechem are needed one by one and baked one by one. The lechem bottom are needed one by one, but are baked two by two. One should make them as in a mold, and when they remove them, he placed them in a mold so they should not be damaged. Both the shtei lechem and the lechem kapanim are needed and shaped outside the temple courtyard and are baked within it, and they did not override Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says all the procedures are performed within the courtyard, and Rabbi Shimon says they always be accustomed to say the shtei lechem and the lechem kapanim are valid both in the courtyard and in Beit Pagi. Okay. The chavitim of the Kohen Gadol are needed, shaped, and baked within the courtyard, and they override Shabbos. The grinding and sifting do not override Shabbos, and Rabbi Akiva said it a rule. Any labor which can be done prior to Shabbos does not override Shabbos, whereas one who cannot be done prior to Sabbath overrides the Sabbath. Okay. Trying to get you out on time.
Thanks.
Okay. Nazir. Base. If he said, this cow and I am a Nazir, if I stand up, or if this door said, I'm a Nazir, if I open, Beit Shammai says he is a Nazir. Beit Hillel says he is not a Nazir. But Yehuda says, even what Beit Shammai said, they do not know except for one who says, this cow is for me a sacrifice if it stands up. They poured a cup for him, and he said, I'm a Nazir from it. He is a Nazir. It once happened that a certain woman who was inebriated, they poured a cup for her, and she said, I'm a Nazir from it. The Chachamim said she did not intend other to say, it is for me like a sacrifice. If one says, I'm a Nazir on condition that I'm permitted to drink wine or contract tumor for the dead, he is a Nazir and prohibited in all of them. If he says, I know that there is a Naziris, but I did not know that a Nazir is forbidden wine, he is forbidden. He is forbidden. But Rabbi Shimon permits this. I know that Nazir is forbidden wine, but I thought the sages were permitted for me since I cannot live without wine. Or since I bury the dead, he is permitted, but Rabbi Shimon forbids him. If one says I'm a Nazir and there's an obligation,
We are done.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Okay, good. All right.
Okay.
Have a great Shabbos. Okay, take care of yourself. Thank you.